Welcome back to Market It with Atma, where we share the tips, tools, and strategies to help your business be successful. Today, our topic on this show is grant writing. How does that affect you as a business owner? We have today owner and founder of the Sailor Justice Project, Mrs. Doria, on the show to help educate us about grant writing for small businesses, or nonprofits, and what it takes, and maybe some changes that might affect your business. Welcome, Doria.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the intro.
I'm so excited you were able to make it. You flew in today, right?
I did. I flew in. And let me tell you what, it was an easy fly in, but then we got here to the airport, and we had to circle for like an hour before we could land.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I was going to say the Dallas traffic, but you hadn't even landed yet.
No. I was in Dallas in the air for like an hour before I was actually in Dallas.
But you kind of know what it's like. You're from here, right?
Yeah. So, well, I'm not from here, but I'm from Chicago, but I lived here for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, like this is really like my second home. So it's really like coming back home, coming back to Dallas.
Oh, so you feel good. Traffic or no traffic, it still feels good.
It feels good to be back. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
So you and I met at a local networking event, and what you do is so important, I feel, to our audience, future clients, businesses, especially nonprofits. So can you kind of walk me through what encouraged you to start the Sailor Justice Project, and a little definition about what it is you do on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. So I started the Sailor Justice Project. Really, it starts from being like a 9-year-old little girl while like coming home after school watching Sailor Moon. And so like I always wanted to be a Sailor Scout. It was my favorite thing. And so like anime kind of became the thing, right? Like
very
I was
popular.
Just very into anime, and like during that time when I was in high school, it was not. Like I was very much like something I kept to myself. That's something must very much keep to yourself. So I love the expansion of like anime now. So then graduated into going into higher education, getting my career started, and doing 10 years in the college realm or whatever.
Right.
During the pandemic was when the transition happened, and we needed to bring everything online because of, we were at home.
Right.
And so during that transition, it was tough. And so there were a lot of things that happened, and I ended up leaving higher education.
Oh, wow.
And so in leaving, I was transitioning and like, okay, great. Like I'll just find a different job. I was thinking maybe international education, but then my friend asked me if, hey, you want to do some contract work on the side, make some money until you get another job. And it was a grant writing gig. And I was like, well, I've only written one grant.
Right.
But cool. So then I go and write this grant for the guy, and then his friend needed a grant writer, and cousin needed a grant writer. And
Isn't it amazing how it all networks together?
Yeah. So then I started the business, and what inspired me was really BTS.
Really?
Yes, K-pop is what made me the courage to push me. The album, like all of the stuff that they were talking about loving yourself and how to just be better to yourself and all of that, like that really, like at the time, especially during the pandemic, it hit hard.
Resonated, yeah.
Yeah, and so it started with like a skincare routine. I'm going to do better with taking care of my skin, and then that graduated into me being like brave enough to start a business, and 3 years later,
here you are.
Here I am.
Flying into Dallas to
Yes.
do podcasts. It's amazing. I feel like with COVID, that whole experience really helped people maybe push them into the confidence they needed to do what they wanted to do with their life, right?
Absolutely. It was time that I had to sit and really think about, what do I want to do at this stage of adulthood, right? Like I've fulfilled all these high school dreams. What do I want to do now in this adult self? And like BTS, I mean, them being around, I'm a little bit older than them, but we're around the same age. And just seeing everything that they've been able to accomplish, everything they've been able to do, and the age that they were doing it at so young, I was like, I can do this. I can do this. So I'm going to go, whatever this is, I'm going to do it. And it ended up being a grant writer and starting this business.
Right. And for it to launch this quickly really makes me realize how many business owners out there are missing out on these opportunities to, one, get grants, and the opportunity to utilize what you do specifically to make sure that it's not wasted time and effort applying for one that you know is going to get bounced back, right?
Right.
And I absolutely love that the mission behind it for you is so selfless, because it really is important what you're doing. And we had talked prior to this about a lot of legislative changes that are going on. So I'm going to jump right into it. I know it's the tea.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
But it really resonated with me when you said so many changes are affecting so many things. And I think our audience and our business owners and nonprofits really need to know how these changes are going to affect them and what's really going on, and how you might be able to help them in turn, right? So tell me, what are some of the big bullet points that you feel like changes have been made and these are really, really affecting people, or they need to know about them?
Right. So I think the biggest change that happened was in January at the end of the month, when the executive order went out pretty much to put a stop on federal grants. And basically, you got emails that were being sent out saying like, hey, you have until 5 o'clock to draw down the money that you have for this grant. Otherwise, you're not going to have access to the money at all. So like the way like federal grants work is like you'll have, like say you have a 5-year cycle and you've been approved for 5 years, but you don't have like 5 years worth of money just sitting in a bank account, right? Like you have to draw it down once a year, or, you know, when you're going to use it. And so all of the money had not been drawn down yet at that point when he dropped that executive order. So he was telling everybody that today by this time, so I'm going to tell you at like 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, you have literally until the end of business day to pull down, to all of these institutions to pull down that money. Otherwise, you're not going to have access to it. So that's money for salary. That's money for student programs. That's money for tutoring. Some of these programs also serve students with disabilities. So that means that those students' accessibility services are cut off. So that was what happened. And so then there was an injunction. And so a judge blocked that executive order. And so now the ricochet of that, what happened through the rest of the year, was people were terrified of federal grants. And so there were grant applications that were available, and nonprofits were not applying because they don't want to touch the federal grants because of everything that's going on. So then he kind of got what he wanted without having to take the grants away.
Right.
You don't apply for the funding because now I've created all this fear and misinformation. So what's happened is several things. Nonprofits and organizations are not applying for the grants that are available. And now all of a sudden, like the grants that are usually dropping, like your annual grants that usually always drop at this time of year, certain times a year, have not been dropping. The number of grants on grants.gov are at record lows from previous years. And the thing about this grant money, they're taxpayer dollars, and the money is already there. It's just not being made available in the grants that it's supposed to be.
Wow. So where is it being allocated to if it's not in the grants anymore?
That's a great question. Where is the money?
Oh, wow.
Where is it going, and where is it sitting, and what's being done with it? Because for some of this, most of my experiences is in higher education. And so the Department of Education is the one that is responsible for handling the grant funding.
How it gets divvied up.
Exactly. And so if you're talking about, in addition to what's happening with grant funding on this side, in addition to that, the Department of Education is slated to be dismantled. So when you have this intersection of grant funding that falls under the Department of Education, and then the Department of Education itself
is being
dismantled, now you have like no large entity to manage where the grants go, to manage the grant funding.
And it seems like there's a lot of confusion as to where, because of this dismantling of the education system or the Department of Education, as to where it's going or who's managing it.
Right. Like, where is the money? Because the money that, the taxes have already been paid. The money was already allocated because these federal grants, like, these are things that have been happening. Like the application for the 2025 to 2030 TRIO SSS application, that dropped 2024 June.
Oh my goodness. So this is cash money that's already out there, right?
Yes.
This isn't interest rate money that may come in or may not. This is cash money from taxpayer dollars.
Yes, that's already there, and it's being he's saying that the program, and as of right now, TRIO SSS will be cut as of August 30th of this year, of this summer, and it won't exist anymore.
Anymore at all?
No, because, as of right now, no, it won't exist anymore.
So let me back up just for a minute, just for the people out there that that are just not educating themselves on what's going on or haven't even considered a grant. And it's like, okay, how do I navigate this now? We know about all this that's gone on. The funding that you said most businesses or institutions have been utilizing, they're not able to get anymore. What are those common institutions, or what type of businesses? Is it daycares? Is it colleges? Is it public schools?
Ooh, it's all of the above. So like education, so you think of every type of school, right? Every type of facility that educates a student, whether that be a daycare, a nursery, a preschool. Even private Catholic schools use grant funding to a certain degree, because as long as you are an entity and you qualify for the funding, you can apply. Right. So private schools, Catholic school, I'm a product of Catholic school. And so Catholic schools, like, because of tuition dollars, like, you heavily rely on grant funding.
Oh my goodness, right.
Along with donations and stuff. So think about every level of education that there exists. The grant funding for all of those programs are at risk right now for not existing anymore. And when you think about, like, I was talking about TRIO because that was what I was talking about yesterday, and that I used to work under that program. But just grant funding across the board, I would challenge anybody to go to your daycare or wherever your kids are going if they're under 5 years old and ask them, like, how do you pay for all these different things? I mean, just some of the simple things like facilities and overhead, grant funding can be utilized to step in and used for that.
Right.
And so, like, some of these facilities depend on grant funding to serve you well. And a lot of the workforce depends on that grant funding, because if they can't take my child and they can't bus them to school, then how do I go to work? Absolutely. And then, like, that's why Harvard is fighting back so hard, because Harvard, it's, our Ivy Leagues do some of our most critical research around health and medicine. Like, you want to talk about curing cancer and all of that, like, those are the kind of schools that have the facilities, the resources, and the money to do that.
Right.
And so you take away the grant funding for the research doesn't get done. The reason that we've been able to move forward our medicine is because of the research that our universities are able to do.
Absolutely.
And if we don't have the research funding to do the research doesn't get done.
So with that being said, does this affect every area of, because there's many types of grants, right?
Right.
You said Trillo is the one that you'd worked with previously, and that's what you're referencing right now. But say small business grants, say minority, if you're a Black-owned business, if you're a Asian-owned business, things like that some people don't even know they can apply for.
Yeah.
You can help walk them through that. But what you're saying with all the legislative changes, it affects all of these. All of this.
It affects everybody, because, like, with small businesses, a lot of small businesses go for foundation grants. So that is
SB.
Right. Those are those Small Business Administration or foundations, which foundations are largely funded by private businesses that, like, I have an overflow of money, let me create a foundation, or like families that are that have high net worth. So, like, let's create a family foundation, and this is how, we're going to give this money. That's how we're going to use this money to do good.
Right. And you have to show what you're going to do with the funds.
And so the foundations will have grants and give those to small businesses. And so now, because of what's happening with federal funding, there's more competition for the foundation grants.
Oh, okay. So now tell me more about that. So federal funding, it seems like, and I'm going to put it kind of in a bubble, it seems like they are pretty much trying to slowly soften it out to where there's not as much federal funding for grants for any of them.
Yep.
So in turn, what you're saying is there's a whole different competition that's growing now. Tell me more about that.
Sure. So foundation grants and the grants on the other. So there's, like, I'll separate it. There's, like, into two different types of grants. The public bucket, which is, like, state, federal, by the government, managed by the government. And then you have private grants that foundations are included in that. Those grants are now, the foundations are like, cool, we'll step up to the plate to help, like, fund these nonprofits and organizations and things like that. And so they are looking to step up. But during the first quarter of the year, they were holding their money because we're not sure what's going to happen with grants and the current administration. So foundations were largely holding their money. So I have clients and other nonprofits that were like, hey, our funders are not giving us money and we don't know when we're going to get it, or our money is delayed, or our money is less this year because of what happened with the federal grants.
Right.
And so now foundations are like, cool, we can start to slowly let some of this money go and because they're like, we want to be able to still support the nonprofits that we are funding, in addition to be able to like realistically support anybody new that we come on.
Right.
And we want to make sure that if we bring on someone that we're going to financially support, we can really financially support you.
Absolutely.
And so because of what happened with the federal grants, they were like, let's hold on to our money to make sure we have enough cash flow, because we don't know how this is going to go.
Right.
So we may need to like only support who we already have. So now we're starting to see some grant applications available. Like on LinkedIn, I'm seeing some more people post about grants that are available for small business owners and stuff, so that the applications and the money is out there. It's available for small businesses. The competition is steeper. It's fierce.
Right. That's why what you do is so important. And another reason I wanted you on the show now, because you're saying in August, they're hoping that all the federal grants are just going to dissipate, right?
Well, no,
that are being offered.
All of them. It's Trio SSS specifically. So Trio SSS is a 5-year life cycle. And so the life cycle for Trio SSS is 2020 to 2025.
I see.
So all of the Trio SSS ends August 30th, 2025, and the new grant that they applied for June 2024 was supposed to take effect.
Right.
And so they were supposed to have a decision about that by now, but no decision. The decision has been no.
So in other words, quit trying to guess what's going to happen with the government funding, and this is where we need to go next. This is what you need to look for. So you're seeing a lot on LinkedIn offering private funding. Is it primarily local outreach from local businesses wanting to help small businesses, or is it like a hub per state that they can go to and research? Can you tell me more about how some of these businesses and nonprofits can search and navigate?
That is also part of what people hire me for.
Wonderful.
The grant researching part is daunting. So if you're a small business owner and you're looking for grants, get on LinkedIn and start connecting with your local banks.
Okay.
Local banks usually have some kind of foundation, and so they have grant funding, and they always have small business resources. And then the bank, whoever you have a bank account with, they have small business resources you should be utilizing. You should be in that bank at least once a month trying to figure out what are the new resources y'all have available for me. Because as much by being a business owner and putting all your money into that account, you're giving the bank your money for them, because our banks take our money and invest and do all that stuff. So they're benefiting from you. So you need to be making sure you're benefiting from them by going to that bank.
Wow. So a lot of the banking is going to really start ramping up, the business banking, because if they don't offer it right now, they probably should look into it, because it's a fierce market for these small business owners, right?
It is. And so like most banks have some kind of small business resource or grants available for them to apply for, so they can go to their bank and find it there. Their local banks, local foundations, but then also larger banks like Chase. Chase has so many different arms of foundation and grant funding available for small businesses.
Wow, this is information I never knew. And I've worked for a bank in my past.
Let me tell you, I learned this by working so when I became a grant writer, I was like, I really need to hone my skills. So I became a grant administrator full-time for a nonprofit and worked under an executive director who is a master class in fundraising.
Wow.
And knows and taught me so much. And so Chase has multiple different arms and has been actually standing pretty firm in supporting small businesses, Black-owned businesses, and have been like their statements and stuff have said as much. And that was like one of the things I was checking on, like, what's Chase gonna do? But there's like other like larger banks that have foundations, that have small business foundations and grants available. You just have to go and look for it.
And know where to look. Right. That's why you are so important. And you starting your own business, I feel like, was a great move for you. I'm just looking at you in hindsight, like that was probably the most strategic move you could have made, because you're not under any entity. You're not following guidelines to say or not say anything. This is real. This is education that you've taught yourself with your education in school, of course. Yes. I'm sure with some grants. I know I needed some. To really educate your local community, right? And it seems like a very selfless act, but there's so much more I didn't know about. Like you just recently signed a 6-month contract.
Yeah.
Tell us about that and why. Why is 6 months, 3 to 6 months, so imperative when hiring someone like you to write a grant?
That's a great question. So because the fundraising timeline takes time. So you have, depending on if you have a relationship with funders already, that impacts how long it might take to get a check. If you're establishing a new relationship, because it's relationship building, it's not just an application you're submitting.
You have to be able to trust, right?
Yes, and the funder needs to trust that you're going to be a good steward of their money. So, making sure that I'm sorry, re-ask the question because I was about to go down a rabbit hole.
It's okay. I do it all the time. There's so many variables and branches to what you do. So, what I asked is, why is a 3 to 6 month contract period when they bring you on so important?
Got it. Because the 3 to 6 month timeline is important because 3 months give us a minimum time to establish new relationships, get a good number of grants because we'll apply for a certain number of grants per month. So get a certain number of grants out per month to start building up that pipeline, start building out relationships, and that will take time for that to reflect back in money. So like if you need money, you're going to need grant funding. Starting before you need it is the best way. Like a year, 2 years before you need it is when you need to start applying. Also, some grant applications, when they drop, the application process is a little slow. So you might get a drop let's say we get a drop May 1st and the deadline is June 30th and the panel, they have to review it, and however many applications they get, depend on if they get 5 or 500.
Wow.
They have to review them all, then have to get back to everybody. By the time they get back to you, they might be saying like, you're great, you're on the short list. Can you give us a presentation? And then we'll have to review again. Right.
What business owner has time to go through all those hoops and jump ropes?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So you're really saving them time and the efficiency of you being so educated as to where to find them, what to do, what not to do, really saves them money at the end of the day, right? I mean, those are hourly costs for your staff that don't know anything about it. Right?
And I know, and that's what people will do. People will just be like, hey, do these as assigned and just have somebody do that. Just start writing grants. And it's really a waste of your salary dollars because you're having somebody just kind of throw out an application and it's not well written or written in a way that would be compelling to a funder. And then or it's not even a grant that's in alignment with your mission. So it was like you shouldn't have even applied for that grant anyway.
Right.
So it's like a waste of time, a waste of resources. So when you try to cut corners with trying to be cheap and just have this staff member do it or just try to hurry up and do it yourself, sometimes you can get lucky and get a grant or two, but it's not an efficient way to fundraise long term.
Absolutely. I mean, wouldn't you want a faster return on the time and effort that you gave?
Absolutely.
Especially with, I'm sure everyone's scrambling to look for where they can find some funding now that it's ending for them for the upcoming years, right?
Absolutely.
So can you kind of tell me what are some websites, platforms you recommend for people who can't hire you just yet to check regularly before they need the funding, like you just said, to be proactive about it? Where can they go to try and search and delegate and resource if they can't hire you just yet?
Sure. So there's a few different places you can go. So Grant Station is a free resource. Grants.gov is where all federal, state, any kind of in that sector, all of those grants are going to be on grants.gov. The foundation, private grants, that's where it gets a little sticky. So Grant Station is a good place to go. Hello Alice is a great place to go. They have great resources in especially for small business owners, Black-owned, BIPOC-owned business, women-owned.
What about veteran-owned?
Veteran-owned as well.
Okay, great.
Hello Skip is another one that's good. And then the one that I use is Instrumental. That one's a little more expensive, but it gives you everything. I pay for it so that I can have more than one profile and I can filter out. My client tells me, you get to give me all the nuts and bolts. I put the stuff in and then it filters it for me and then gives me a curated list.
Which is, pivotal for you to have. So you can take that to any business and you part of what you do, goes to your resources that you use, right? Staying educated on what's going on and how to find it.
Yeah, because like if I spend, because that was like instrumental is great because I don't want to, also they're paying me for my time. I don't want to spend too much of my time on the research part when we need to get applications out.
Absolutely.
So it saves me time, and then I can just go and pull the list, the spreadsheet, and then me and my client just go over it and walk through like which grants are the best fit we want to go for, and then start applying.
Wow. I feel like each and every business owner or nonprofit association, anything, would want to have multiple conversations with you on so many different realms. So after looking through our conversation from the last time and looking through where you're listed on the platform, social media platforms, and your website, you also host workshops that they can be a part of. Tell me more about that.
Yes. And so I've done the last like year or two, I've been doing like free workshops, one as a free resource, two as a way for me to like gather data on how to educate better.
Absolutely. So you receive feedback on a lot of that? Okay.
On a lot of it. And so the one that I have now is my first paid, well, not my first like big paid workshop is the one that I'm developing that's dropping next week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's dropping next week. And this one is going to be a half-day walkthrough where you're going to be able to figure out how do I find and search grants. And then we're going to walk through, okay, here is how to do that. And you'll leave with a list of 3 to 5 grants that you can apply for custom to your business.
Wow.
Like you'll get to learn and then you get to implement. And then at the end is going to be some networking.
Man.
So for them to be able to connect. So it'll be a half-day virtual event that anybody can participate in that's interested in grants. So that's nonprofits, small businesses. You think about hospitals, the medical grants. There's a lot of money in that. Education, anyone in the education sector would benefit from that. And I'm doing this also because of what's happening with TRIO programs and federal funding. You're going to have to access different kind of grants, and you're going to some like educations where they were relying a lot on federal grants, they're going to have to shift into some of these foundation grants as well.
And it's like, where do you start?
Exactly.
I would have no idea where to start. And after watching my CEO, he manages 3 different businesses, right? He's the CEO of this co-working space, our marketing agency, and then another business. And it's like, these are things I know he doesn't have time for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How could he stay up to date on all these changes and really know how it's going to affect him without someone like you?
Literally, I listen to NPR every day to keep up with news, just to keep up with what's going on. I follow PBS on TikTok so I can keep up with the most current information on grants, like keeping up with grant news. I'm subscribed to several newsletters. I'm a part of several different associations on different state level, national level. At the beginning of the year, I went to 2 state level conferences that talk specifically about grants and funding and stuff. Like, I have invested so much time and energy into going and finding all this information out. A small business owner, you barely have enough time to get your accounting done.
No kidding. Sometimes not even that.
Yeah. Did you eat breakfast yesterday? You know what I'm saying? It's just challenging. And so it's just like anything else. You have to outsource it for it to be done well.
Absolutely. And be able to, because people buy and hire from people they know, like, and trust.
Yes.
Right. And the fact that you even take the time and opportunity to have gotten your degree, graduated, and continually keep that education going when you're not working with a client is imperative. The initiative since COVID, it seems like in the whole society, is just a little more lax. The effort, the willingness to take an opportunity when it comes your way, it's less and less. I'm seeing, especially our generation and next generations to come. So what you do would be invaluable to me. But what I want to know is, if I'm in New York or if I'm in Louisiana, can you still help me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
so I have clients. So being I lived in Dallas, and so I just moved to Chicago 30 days ago. So
we miss you already.
I know. I already miss it here, but I had clients. So when I was a grant administrator, that was based in San Diego.
Oh, wow.
I was virtual that whole time. I was there for like a year and a half. So I have clients, some everywhere. I have a client in New York. I have clients like in the DC area. I do have clients in Chicago and some clients in Dallas. I've had, because of like, I guess you end up having with one client and then they introduce you to somebody. So I have a lot of folks like in the New Jersey, that side of the country.
Wow. So you would definitely say your referrals are your primary source of new clients coming in.
Referrals, yeah. Referrals, definitely. And then like referrals, and then followed by that is social media. Like I went really ham for like 2 months on Instagram and like was just like going crazy. And like I got a few like, actually one of my New York client came from Instagram DMs.
Wow. That is incredible.
So I think you would like, there's some of it is like, you just have to be bold enough to try.
Yeah, just get who you are and what you do out there, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's professional or not, just get it out there.
Absolutely. And like being like K-pop is just like the way it like has nothing to do with grants and everything to do with my grant world. That's where I like got a following and got comfortable being on social media, on K-pop content creator on TikTok. And so when I dropped my business, all of those people, I was like, hey, I started my business. They were like, we know nothing about grants, but we'd love to support you. So they were sharing my stuff. I had people that I've never met in person before referring me to their friends that needed a grant writer.
Wow, you've taken the title influencer to a whole new level in the most positive way I can think of, which is great because it seems like everyone is starting their own business, especially after COVID. It's so, I think with technology and AI and all of the different variables we've grown into, it's so much easier.
It is.
To start your own business.
It is. And you can start a business at home on your computer. You can start with what you have at the house. There's so many ways to start a business at home. I had no idea. So it's like,
just try.
Just be bold enough to try something. Like literally, I've had other grant writers see my TikTok and DM me on TikTok just to connect with another grant writer.
Wow.
Like if you're just bold enough to just put the stuff out there, you just never know what's going to happen.
And I'm so thankful you did, because who would have known that legislation would have shifted this month, and now you're in the spotlight to help people. I'm sure you're about to be pulled 15 different directions by the end of the year.
You know, I mean, like that is the fortunate and unfortunate part about all of this.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So can you tell me, how do you navigate through the misinformation that's out there about grant writing and what's going on in legislation and what people should be aware of? How do you know and navigate through that misinformation?
Sure. So I stay connected with other grant writers, and I'm a part of, well, I haven't paid my membership yet, but I connected with one of the presidents of a chapter for the Grant Professionals Association.
Oh, wow.
So that's like our like governing body. And so I'm subscribed to their newsletter, so I stay up to date. And so their information I know is like solid.
That's your fact checking go-to.
Yeah, fact checking go-to.
Okay.
COE is also like the governing body for like TRIO programs, and so I'm subscribed to their newsletter.
Wow.
Also, that president that I connected with, she was like, yeah, you can just come to our biweekly catch-up meetings and talk with other grant writers. So I go to that every 2 weeks. Man,
it's staying up to date and having a community. I mean, any industry, I feel like that's beneficial, right?
Yeah.
To know the do's and don'ts of what you guys are doing, and especially right now, it affects so many, and you could really help so many. Okay, so what would you say is your most recent or best success story that you could share with some of our businesses and nonprofits?
Oh my God. So actually I need to email this client again today. So I have a client that I'm working with that works with providing a safe space for transgender women, a safe house. And we had to pause on working together for a little bit. We wrote some grants, had to pause because we had a funder that, because of what happened with the federal grants, right? And so then she came back and was like, hey, one of the grants we went for, I got invited for an interview.
Oh.
And so we're prepping for the interview happen. It just happened this week. And so we were prepping for that interview for this month. And so she had the interview this month. So we'll wait to see what happens with that interview and how things go. But
that's incredible, because that community in itself, once the election and everything happened, I know there was a lot of nervousness or what's going to happen or what's going on. So that is an incredible story.
Yes, that nonprofit, we were scared a little. I was scared, because like when funders were pausing and then that specific community was being attacked and like that, right? And so like at the beginning of the year, it's like, oh my God, like I hope, like we get some funding, and I hope funders don't all pull out and like completely dismantle stuff. And so then a few months later to come back and say like one of the applications went through, and it was one of the $25,000 ones. So I'm like, this is gonna be like so
pivotal.
Yes. So this is turning around. So I'm like, it's starting to turn around. So if you're gonna apply, this is the time to go ahead and start applying, because things are starting to turn.
Yeah. So if they did start applying today and they called you and they started putting the steps together that they need so that they can utilize you, how long would you say from start to finish will it take before they have a check in their bank account for that business?
3 to 6 months.
Wow. And that's months. If you have all the information
If you have
ready.
all the information ready, you could still have all the information, because it doesn't depend on you and how ready you are. It depends on the funder and how fast they get their checks out.
Interesting.
And so like, even for, like, I'll use Chase as an example. Like, they're so large, but they still paper mail their checks. So like,
old habits die hard. Right?
Yeah, they do. So like, it just depends. It just really just depends. I don't like to promise that it's going to be fast. There's nothing fast about grants. Mm-hmm. It's a marathon sprint. It's a marathon kind of thing. Sometimes you can get funding fast. Sometimes you can like apply and like the funding comes in a few weeks. If it's a foundation, if it's a small family foundation and
right.
like, they don't get that many applications, or your application was really great and they're ready to make decisions, mm-hmm. or they have hard deadlines of when they're going to make those decisions. Sure, you can get something fast. But it shouldn't be the expectation in the grant world that this is you need to plan this ahead of time and
right.
just be ahead of the curve. And if you're not ahead of the curve, that's okay. We can play catch up, but just know that it'll be playing catch up and it's not going to be an immediate turnaround.
Yeah, you making the audience or your audience, any audience, more knowledgeable of when they should start this process mm-hmm. is very, very important. I know it is for me, because I'm going to walk out of here and go to my CEO and say, hey, do you know all of these things that are going on? Because if not, I mean, we should get started on it. So can you tell our audience maybe 5 bullet points to make sure they have collected information they need to have ready before they even consider applying for a grant or talking to you?
Yeah. So like, let's see, 5 things. So like, you need 1, are you collecting data on your own organization? So like making sure your analytics.
Okay.
So like, you have your X number. You're saying that we serve 100 people and this is the impact. Cool. Do you have any numbers, any assessment that can show me that that's what's happening? I believe you, but we need some numbers to back that up, because your funders want to see numbers to back that up.
Wow.
So make sure you have your analytics and they're solid.
It's so funny how it circles back to what we do here at Atma, because we tell all of our businesses, you have to have analytic programs or work with somebody that does, to be able to target the correct audience. So it's mutually beneficial.
Yes.
For funding and for your outreach as well.
Yes. And as a business owner, you should just know your analytics. I mean, also like research methods was my class. I know I'm a math girl. I was a mathlete. I like numbers.
Oh,
so grants is kind of perfect for me because I like numbers.
Yeah, you look happy. Yeah. I would not look the way you look at all.
Yeah. So like, and your analytics, look at your verbiage for everything, your mission, vision, value. Make sure that that's current. Make sure that that is compelling, and make sure that you're good with your mission, vision, value, all your core.
Some people don't have those. Now, is there anything specific based on what type of grant you're applying for that they would be looking for?
Well,
that would sway or dissuade.
Great to have your mission already there, because then I can look at all the other funders and see if there's mission alignment.
Okay.
You don't want to force it.
You want to be honest.
Exactly. Because if there's no mission alignment, like if they're looking to like help the car industry and you're like with helping with sustainability, like why are we trying to make that work?
Right.
Like, no, let's just go on to a different funder, because there are funders out there.
Don't waste the time.
Don't waste the time. But like also as a grant writer, and like writing is what I do, what I've done, like especially early on in learning how to be a business owner, I've rewritten some missions and rewritten some vision statements and stuff. And that can be done. It just takes time. So if you don't want my time eaten up by redoing all of your stuff, then
you call Story and she'll help you put together that strategy.
Exactly.
You like that?
You call Story and get that situated, and when y'all done, you come to me.
There we go.
Exactly.
Mutually beneficial. Everything in life should be mutually beneficial.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are a couple other overview points, because I know we can dive into details of each one.
Overview points. So I did 2. So third one, I would have a team. Establish your grant writing team. Like if you can't hire a grant writer, it's you and maybe 2 other 3 people that do different things. So you have the leadership brain. You need somebody that's on the ground doing the work, and maybe I'm thinking like a student or maybe somebody from the community that's impacted by your work. So you kind of have a well-rounded like vision of like what's going on on how to write that.
Is that something you offer? So say they can't have you full time, but can you help them with the strategy for grant writing?
Yeah. So like if you wanted me to come in and like just help you get organized, like you have your team together and y'all are going to write it and you just need to get organized, I can help you get organized from A to Z on just like how to get set up, and then y'all go do it. Like I give you the template on how to do it, and then y'all go do the stuff.
Wow. Okay. That's incredible. You're like a resource for everything right now. Okay. So is there, I do want to ask, I know we missed a couple bullet points, but they'll have to reach out to you to learn a little bit more, because we could be here all day talking.
We could.
So tell me, how can people connect with you? What platforms are you on? What are you checking daily? And how can they stay up to date on any important information you're trying to deliver?
Sure. So I'm on LinkedIn at the Sailor Justice. Everything is the Sailor Justice Project.
The THE Sailor Justice Project.
The Sailor Justice Project. So on LinkedIn, you can find me on the Sailor Justice Project. My website, thesailorjusticeproject.com. On Instagram, I'm at the Sailor Justice Project. Facebook, same thing, the Sailor Justice Project. I'm also on TikTok. That is a combination of K-pop and grant writing. I don't know how I put those together, but they're there together.
The fact that you merged them is impressive. I'm curious now. I'm just going.
Yeah, that one is your girl Sailor Justice. A little different, but everything else is the Sailor Justice Project.
I love it. Well, I am so excited for your future this year and how many people you're going to help, and I cannot wait to see you next year to see how everything developed and what new changes are coming. So thank you so much for coming, for flying in today to be with us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for come meeting you at the networking event and being invited to come. I was like, I called my mom and was like, guess what?
I love it. Would you have thought when you made those impromptu videos educating people that you would have so much outreach? I mean, you were worried about it not being professional, and look at you. That's how I found you.
Absolutely not. I had absolutely no idea. I had no idea that this is where I would graduate to, and that there's so much more to come from this. So I'm just so grateful that I got to meet you at the networking event and being able to come here today. And this setup, oh my God, is amazing. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so thankful that we have you now as a resource.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we will be seeing each other a lot soon. And hopefully our audience out there, if you have questions, if you're not sure, or if you've never even applied for a grant before, there may be funds out there that can help you. Reach out and try, because all you can do is try, and who knows what will come from it. Until next time, we'll see you then.